Welcome to Something Unoriginal. On today's episode, we're joined by Amber Olsen. We talk about her travels through Europe and the nightmares that can happen, her business, Mayzie Co., and how to step up your nutrition game. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, and rate the show. It helps us grow and keeps the episodes coming. Also, follow us on Instagram as Something Unoriginal Podcast so you never miss updates on the show. Thank you. All right, well, welcome in. Amber, how you doing today?
Good.
It's good to have you on.
I'm very happy to be here.
It's exciting. You're our first female guest here, which is
Right on.
new. We haven't had that yet.
I'm excited.
But yeah, we'll jump into it. We start normally with the Tell Me This.
Okay.
For reference, my friend Raul at work, he does this thing where he walks up to me, he says, "Tell me this," and then gives me two options for two absolutely random things I get no context.
Okay.
And you just have to pick which one you like. So your Tell Me This today is rain or snow.
Definitely rain.
Okay. Why rain?
I say rain because I just got back from the Netherlands and it rained every day. So in my mind I say rain because I just bought a brand new raincoat.
Okay.
Ew.
So I'm prepared.
Nice.
Oh.
I like it. Rain's a good one. I pick snow myself
Why?
because
Tell me.
I love driving in snow.
Really?
I love driving in snow.
He's a psycho for that.
Yeah, we also have Megs on the podcast today, so you'll hear little bits from her.
The main woman.
Yep.
The real deal.
Ew.
Indeed. So yeah, snow's I love driving in it. It's a little bit drier. You don't get as wet, which is nice.
Yeah. I don't mind driving in snow, but I was going up to, what's that snowbird? I don't know, wherever they have that cliff spa.
Mm-hmm.
There's this part, it was snowing like crazy, and then you have to drive down like steep, and I thought I was just going to slide into no man's land, into a car, into people. Like that
is pretty scary. Mountainous snow is bad, I guess, for driving.
Yeah.
But either way, though, it's still, I have a good time.
Yeah.
But interesting. So rain. Do you like that? I've heard a lot of people say the smell of rain. Do you like that stuff, or is it just like
Smell of rain?
the vibe?
I think that there's nothing like a good like summer rain. Like I think that's where like just like a nice summer rain. That just like feels good. But like a winter rain where it's just cold, that's like it's just kind of whatever, just wet and dark.
Mm-hmm. A little miserable.
It's a little depressing.
It is a little depressing.
But a summer rain, I like that. Or like, yeah, summer rain and driving in the mountains. And you have like that smell of like the pine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like a smell of fresh rain on wet cement type of person, but like when you get like the piney smell with rain, that's nice.
That is pretty cool. Interesting. I haven't thought about that aspect of the rain. Would you ever consider like moving to a rainy
No.
place? Never?
Couldn't. No, I need the sunshine. Way too much. When you're living in a place that it feels like it's the same time all day,
Mm-hmm.
that gets me.
Okay.
I need like 3 different types of the day. I need sunrise, midday, sunset.
That makes a lot of sense.
You know?
I admire that answer.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
Well, a couple things that I wanted to cover with you today. I have a
Okay.
list. You just got back from a trip from Europe.
Yes.
How was that? Where did you go, first of all? And just, I don't know, tell me some things about it.
All the things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was good. We just got back 2 nights ago, so my brain right now, let's see, it's like 3 in the morning Netherlands time, so
Oof.
still definitely jet lagged, but it's okay. Europe was a blast. So Fraser and I, long story short, we just pulled the trigger, sold a bunch of things, put it in the storage unit, and said, cool, peace out, America. So we went to Netherlands. That was our first choice, and people go, well, why Amsterdam? Like, what was the draw there? And when you go to Amsterdam, you go, holy smokes, I want to live here. Because it's just like, the Dutch are, not that I like worship the Dutch or anything, but like the lifestyle is pretty chill. Like, they're pretty laid back. No one's in a rush. No one's like, they don't get all like dolled up everywhere. It's just, everyone's just pretty authentic. And not that I'm dogging on other cultures and stuff, but I just really love it there. Like, I really thrive. The city's really nice. It's easy to get around. The canals, everyone's on bikes. Like, a 90-year-old woman is on a bike and a 6-year-old is on a bike, and they're going somewhere, and it's like the funnest thing. So
I've heard it's a super bike friendly city.
it's like literally there's traffic lights for bikes. There's a rush hour around like 4, 5, 6 of people going from work on bikes.
Interesting.
There's the cutest thing is you'll see like the Dutch moms with the baby strapped to her, and then like a little kid just sitting on the back of their bike, and they're like going to the grocery store. Like, it's just like normal, and I love it.
It sounds like a good vibe.
It's the best. So we pit stopped there, and we got an Airbnb for 4 weeks. So we did a full month in Amsterdam, but also we did a bunch of like weekend trips. So we went to Switzerland for a weekend. We went to Paris. My mom ended up coming out, and we went and did like Paris and Disney Paris, and we went to London. And then we ended up going to, where else did we go? We went to a bunch of places around Amsterdam. And then we were going, speaking of the rain and snow, and what I need in life. It was very rainy there, which was fine. That's like a typical Dutch winter.
For sure.
But our original plan is our last 2 weeks, we were going to do like Eastern Europe and go drive, like, not drive, take trains down through like Budapest, Romania, get all that eastern side that you don't really get a lot. But logistically, it would have been like super wintry, and the terrain there is a lot more mountainous. So getting, like, for reference, getting from Paris to Amsterdam by train is 3.5 hours. Pretty chill, but it's a long distance. But 3.5 hours is whatever. That's a day trip.
Much, yeah.
But to get from like Budapest to Romania or even to Vienna is like 7 to 9 hours, 20 hours, like depending on where you're going, because it's not a city and whatever. So, and we wanted somewhere warm, so we said, cool, let's go to Spain. So we ended up going to Spain, and that was like the sunshine was out, and everyone was walking around in like puffer jackets, but we were laying out on our porch, like tanning, because we needed the sunshine. And so that was a blast. But then we also went to Italy. We went to Rome for a day before we flew out. And yeah, we were kind of around Barcelona, so that was way fun. And just, so it was an adventure.
For sure.
We loved it.
So you went to Europe before with Jensen? No. Ingrid,
yeah.
with Ingrid. Did you go to any of the same places that you went the first time with Fraser this time?
A lot of the same. Well, yeah, actually a lot of the same places. So when Ingrid and I went, we did a month, and we ended up doing, we did a lot of countries. We did Amsterdam. That was when I okay, I'm going to shout out to Lone Peak, Kyle Nelson. But do you guys still get in that like poetic mode where you're like, oh, that was like really magic. And you can just like, I don't know, my brain goes there. That was the first time we woke up in Amsterdam, walking down the street. I felt so alive. And that's where I was like, oh, Amsterdam is the place. So we went there. So this is Ingrid and I's trip. We went to Amsterdam, then we went to Ireland, and then we went to, we did like the coast of Italy. So we kind of went down the whole coast. Then we went to Croatia, which was wild.
Weird.
And the only reason we went is because when we were looking at flights, there was like, we'd put in, okay, from the Rome airport to anywhere in Europe, and it was like $30 to go to Croatia. So we said, cool, we're going to Croatia. And Croatia was dope. Then we did southern France, and we did Berlin, Germany. We did Switzerland, which was also magical.
I hear Switzerland is like the place to be.
Oh my gosh, it's heavenly. That was if I could, when Fraser and I a whole long story short, but that was one place I was like, I want to bring Fraser here. Like this, Switzerland's cool. It's like heavenly.
I hear you're just engulfed in mountains the entire time. Is that true?
It is, and which is crazy because we live in Utah. Like we're by a massive mountain right now. But then you go to Switzerland and they're somehow like 3 times bigger. and like even more around you, and like the air is so pure, and it's just cool. Yeah, I love Switzerland.
Is there, out of all the places that you ate, what would you feel like had the most, well, okay, two sides of this question.
Okay.
What would you feel like is the most delicious food that you had? Which country had the best tasting food? And then which country had the weirdest food?
Okay, back to the Netherlands, back to Amsterdam. A lot of people dog on the Dutch and their food. They're like, they say it's worse. Like, if you were to put on a tier, they go, okay, the UK has the worst food in all of Europe. But then they also put, like, the Dutch up there with it, like Dutch food.
Really?
Because they just say, but honestly, like, Fraser and I, everywhere we ate, we liked all the food. But I will say, this, like, traditional Dutch food is actually disgusting.
Really?
It's not, it's like, it's kind of just like fried snack food. So it's like fries, which everyone loves fries. But every time we got them, they never had like salt on them. And you gotta have salt on the fries.
I did just learn that actually the other day, that French fries are actually not from France. They're from Belgium.
It's like, it's a very, that like northern, I don't know. You go, the Fritz, they're just everywhere. And then they just eat them with mayonnaise. Gross. I don't know. I don't feel good about it, but
it's like half the equation to fry sauce, and they're just missing out.
Like pulling up to Amsterdam for the first time and walking down the street, and you're like, oh, what is, like, let's get a traditional Dutch. And then there's like this stand and people are walking around with cones of French fries and mayonnaise and like cheese sauce.
Ugh.
Yeah, like on the trains, they even have signs. It's like, don't be loud, be considerate, don't eat. And then it has like a cone of French fries with like an like an X over it. Like, don't eat these in the train because they smell weird. Literally.
Interesting.
So
that's like the thing to eat there.
Yeah, fries. And then if you go to like the bars, they'll have like a snack menu, and it's usually the traditional Dutch food. And we made the mistake of getting, like, they're called bitter balls.
Okay.
And the guy was like, yeah, they're just like kind of a traditional Dutch thing. It's like a meatball, like a fried meatball. And you think, yummy. But we got them. It was so gross. And the first time we tried them too, it was on New Year's. And so we went to this bar because it's like 2 a.m. We're in this little town. Anyways, we're like, just give us some food. And they're like, we only have snack food. Meatballs, cool, that sounds great. So we're starving, and you bite into it, and it's like a pureed beef. It's so gross. But then, like, fried. So it was like the consistency of like really, really smooth baked beans or something. But then also it was like shredded beef, but pureed, like way too smooth. And then at the end, so obviously there's like nothing to chew, but then at the end you get a few of those like stringy beef strands.
Like tendon?
And so then you just like the taste, you're like, oh, this is beef, like the taste, but then the texture ruins it all.
Oh, man.
So that was like, we learned that real quick, where it was like, that is a And then their other thing is like mozzarella sticks, basically like fried cheese. So it's just like, that's like, and so when I say food, it's like, okay, yeah, the Dutch don't have like the greatest traditional food, but their other stuff, give it to me. Like stroopwafels, that's a good treat.
That's true. Stroopwafels are
all the other food
awesome.
they had was good.
Interesting.
So that was like, yeah, what was the other? When I was in Croatia, I think they make these everywhere. In fact, Trader Joe's has a good like Trader Joe version.
Interesting.
But it was like this, it's like this flaky croissant like thing with like this 5 cheese filling, and that was good. That was like one of the yummiest things.
I'm gonna have to stop in Trader Joe's. They do a very good job of like having good, different, I guess, like foods from around the world there for some reason. Yeah. Like, it's always in the frozen food section for some reason. You find something, you're like, that doesn't. Absolutely. I've never seen that before.
We all love Trader Joe's. Yeah, it's in a blue package. Okay, it's a big circle, and I think it's in like Greek lettering, but I like it with like a jam. But throw it in your air fryer.
Ooh. That's the way to go.
Yummy.
All right, we'll give it a shot next time we go.
We never really had a hard time getting good food out there, honestly.
Is Spanish food pretty good?
Yes. Honestly, I don't. When we were in Spain, we ate like sushi.
Oh.
So we didn't have anything like true. Actually, we had nachos. not that that's Spanish, but the guy, I don't know. I'm like, is that the most authentic thing? It's funny because actually over there, a lot of places, there's burger joints on like every corner. Like, get your American burger here. They love the burgers.
I guess it's an international favorite.
Must be, which is where we got the nachos. So I'm sorry, Spaniards. I'm not associating nachos with your country. So no.
You grew up next to a Spaniard with the Heelys. And I feel like if she were to hear this, she'd be disappointed.
I take it back. Edit it out.
Consuelo would maybe be a little bit disappointed, but that's all right. But interesting. Okay, so food in a lot of places was pretty good. Was there anything like shocking as far as like just any cultures that you were blown away by? Does that even make sense?
Any cultures in general?
Yeah, just like out of all of them that you saw out in Europe.
Not necessarily. It's always people love to like kind of stomp on the French, but I'm gonna stomp on the French a little bit.
This will be the second time, by the way, in our podcast. We have another person that told us about France.
And let me tell you, it's always like when you're in Paris or around Paris that it's like these experiences. But it is true. Like every time you do go to Paris, I've never had like a really pleasant experience with. Like I always feel like I'm doing something wrong, and that was just
That's interesting you say
that.
So
culturally, it's like people are like, "Oh, French are so mean," and again, it's like a cultural thing. I'm sure it's not a personal thing, but you do go over there and you're like, "I just don't feel comfortable here because I'm sorry, I don't speak French. I'm just an American. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it always feels like you're doing something wrong."
Interesting. So one of our guests, Logan Cook, he was on the other day and he was saying that like because he went to like a study abroad in France, that if you speak English, then they're like really upset. They like look down on you. And then if you try and speak French and it's with an American accent, they also are just like, they scoff at it. And they're like, so they don't give you any opportunity to even like try.
It's like I get like embarrassed because I'm like, the last thing you want to be when you go somewhere is be like that standout like tourist. And then when you get talked at by a French person, you're like, my worst nightmare. But culturally, yeah, the French, but then like again, just love the Dutch. But the Dutch they were always nice, they were always helpful. Almost everyone spoke English. Like that's a very like
prominent language there.
It's a prominent language, but it's like a social level, you could say. I don't know how to say that. Like if you speak English, it means you went to a good school and you're like educated if that's a second language of yours. And so really most people that we talked to knew English pretty well because they're taught it really well, if that makes sense. And really in a lot of countries you're going to get that in like the main cities, so I can't speak for all of the Netherlands, but most people that we talked to in Amsterdam were really lovely. Spain was also a lot of really nice people, but it's like they speak Spanish there, but to me, I don't know if this is true, but it's almost like an Italian Spanish. Yeah. And so it's like very, very intimidating because Italians are intimidating to me.
Really?
Yeah, that's just very like, I don't know. And maybe it's because in like movies, the Italians are always the bad guys.
I see that.
But I don't know. So, but the Spanish, like from who we talked to, people were really nice. And we got scammed in Italy too, so.
Oh, Gary, you got to elaborate on that one.
Lame. Italy.
This was in Rome, I take it.
This was in Rome.
Okay.
We went out for the day. Luckily, it wasn't like I've it could have been worse. But long story short, we spent the day in Rome because we were going home the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we were staying near the Rome. It's like the Fiumicino airport. I don't know how to say it, but that's this town we were staying in. So our hotel was like 10 minutes from the airport, and they had a shuttle to and from the airport.
Yeah.
In that area, not a lot of people spoke a lot of English. Enough to have a conversation, but not easily at all. Anyway, so we spent the day in Rome. Fraser's phone service out there at T-Mobile sucked.
Really?
Yeah, like he didn't have, it took either forever, just like wouldn't work. So I would always use my phone to get us around at Verizon. Thank you. And so by the end of the day, my phone's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, well, we need to get back. And it was like so hard to find a train right to the town that we were staying in. So we had to go to the airport. By the time we got there, both of our phones were dead. And we were like, hey, like, could we buy a cord somewhere? And they're like, no, because you have to go through security to go to the store, and blah, blah, blah. And we tried to go to, like, a hotel. We tried, like, anyway, so we're stranded at the airport. 2 dead phones. We literally fly out the next day, and we're like, screw this. We have one more day. Like, we need to get through this. And then we finally just decided to do a taxi, which isn't ideal because it's, like, the most expensive. But the guy was really nice. We're like, oh, thanks, man. You're such a lifesaver. Like, we got dead phone. He's like, oh, no problem. Come, jump in. So we get in, and Fraser's like, can I use your charge? He's like, oh, totally. Lets us charge our phones.
Mm-hmm.
Takes us to the hotel. And the taxi ride was 30 euro.
Mm-hmm.
And Fraser, I know. Nah. And then Fraser, he only had 20. He had 2 20 euros.
Okay.
So 40 euro total if you can't do math. And I asked the dude, I was like, hey, thank you so much. Like, we were like, I don't know. We just thought he was such a great guy, saving our butts.
Super nice.
Anyways, long story short, lame. Freaking lame ass dude. I was like, do you have any change? Sorry, we only have 2 20s.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yes, sure. And he like wrote a little receipt, and then he filled the bill into the receipt and handed it back to us. And I like grabbed his shoulder. I was like, thank you so much. Like, what do they say? Thank you. I can't remember.
Grazie.
Grazie. Yeah. Like, thank you. Grazie. Get out. We go up to the hotel. And then I, like, open it and give it to Fraser. And he goes, F that guy. And literally the 10 euro bill has, like, movie star money, like, stamped on it. And it's, like, Monopoly money, essentially. It's just a piece of paper. So
what a douche.
Again, not the worst thing that could have happened. But it was like, I just hate that you got away with that. We were so nice to you, and you were nice to us. And you...
Straight up. The fact that he carries that around is wild. I was like, hello, I'm here.
I know.
I just like stared her down to say that.
Like, I wish we would have noticed right away, so I could have been like, are you for reals? Like, give us our money. And then maybe he would be like, oh, sorry. Like, benefit of the doubt, maybe someone gave that to him. And he didn't know.
That's possible.
Over there, honestly, you get on the bus and you're like, hey, can I get a ticket? And you give them money, and they, like, pull change out of their, like, coat pocket. Like, it's nothing professional.
Mm-hmm.
So benefit of the doubt, but also... No,
he
Italians
knew.
Are also
he
always
knew. That's true.
So
seen too many movies where that's the case.
I don't know, a little sus. So that was like the worst thing in quotations because it was only like 10 euros. So what, like $12 or whatever, but still.
So I got to travel along with you through Instagram. I follow Amber on Instagram. Shout out to her.
No.
Vicariously traveling through Amber and Fraser. I am so curious. I know that the listeners would probably love hearing more about your Rouge story.
The disaster?
Yes. I don't even know where to start. I feel like it's a whole 2 days worth of just craziness.
Okay, here's the story. And here's the thing is so the thing about this story is I decided to post along Instagram because you'll know in this story, but we ended up having a road trip across Europe. And so I had time to kill, but I was never exaggerating. That's what's sad. And, like, the details that I told on Instagram, even I'm like, there's even more details. So, I'll give a little quick version. I don't know how much time.
As long as you want. Cool. There's no time limit.
We decide, Fraser and I, we drop off my mom at the airport, and this is when we make the decision, let's go to Spain. So I book an Airbnb for a week in Spain before we go home.
So you're in France at the time?
So we're in Netherlands.
The Netherlands. You're back in the Netherlands.
We're back in the Netherlands. So we're in the Netherlands. We book Spain. We're super excited to get some sunshine. A train ride from Amsterdam to Spain is total, I think, was like 9.5 hours. And we don't mind the trains out there. And we got a Eurail pass, and so they were essentially like paid for. Like, anyways. So I told Fraser, I was like, we could do the whole 9.5 hours, or we could do 3.5 hours to Paris, sleep for a night, and then do the rest of the 6 hours the next day. And he was like, let's do that. That's just, it's nice to break up that ride. We were cool with that. So I get it all booked. Okay. And then I thought to myself, and then backstory, my girl Jensen Smith.
Shouts out to Jensen.
Shout out to Jensen. Called me one day, like a couple months ago, that she had tickets to the Broadway production of the Moulin Rouge. And it was bomb. It was so good. And if you've seen the movie, it's also like, it's just a classic in my opinion. So anyways, I'm on this kind of Moulin Rouge kick. And the OG, like, historical Moulin Rouge is in Paris, which I've been to Paris at this point, like, 3-4 times, and I'd still never been to the Moulin Rouge. And there's, if you don't know about the Moulin Rouge, it's like, it's a whole production, it's a show, it's kind of like a Cirque show, but then, like, classic, like, French topless dancers that are, it's like a whole production. Anyways, so I'm looking at Fraser and I's route. Okay, let's stay a night in Paris. We make that decision. I'm like, oh, what if there's tickets to the Moulin Rouge?
That would
Which
be
these
dope.
tickets you usually have to get like months out in advance. And I looked on their website and they had a couple left for that day. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is serendipity. Like, this is supposed to happen. So I bought the tickets and they were like €300. So like not cheap tickets. And like,
hey, but you're living the dream. So
yes, and we're living. And who cares about money? Credit card. Anyways, so I bought the tickets, and it's like the show started at 11 p.m. So it's like, cool. This is, anyways, it's a whole production. So it's kind of like the equivalent of going to. Maybe, no, I don't even want to see a show. I would say like going to see like the Rockettes in New York, like a classic show. Anyways, I'm stoked about it. We are in Amsterdam. We're staying at one of our favorite hostels, kind of in between leaving the next day to go to Paris. And I get a notification on my phone that the trains in France are going on strike, which happens over there. Yeah. And honestly, again, I've been to, it's pretty common because it's unions and they usually like plan them out, but randomly people will go on strike, and then there's things are out of service and whatever.
It's a Tuesday. Let's just do it. Let's just.
No, literally. And the first time I went to Europe, our tour guide was like, okay, guys, listen up. We have all this stuff planned. But if people go on strike, we can't do anything about it, and we can't go. And so that's that. Like, just know that that's a thing that happens here, especially in France. So, but I've also been to Europe, like, this is my 4th time, and my trip's never been interrupted by a strike. So it's not something I think about. Anyway, so I get a notification that there's a strike that next day when we're supposed to be leaving. But I was like, oh, we already have tickets, like, it'll be cool. But then I'm looking, and it doesn't look very, like, likely. But I find a route that gets us from Amsterdam to Paris, not using one of the companies that was going on strike, Tallies.
Oh, interesting.
So you can kind of, like, find roundabout ways. It was going to take longer. It took, like, 6 hours instead of 3. Because it had to go, whatever. It wasn't direct.
And you didn't have a pass to this?
No, we didn't have a pass.
You still had the pass this one? Okay.
Still had the pass. It was like, okay, we're losing our time, but whatever, we'll still get there. So that happens, and I literally, like, I woke up Friday morning and ran to the train station, said, is there any way we can get to Paris She was like, no, the only way is to go roundabout, so you have to leave. It was like 2:32 is the time the train leaves. That'll get to Paris in 6 hours. So that would get us to Paris at 9 p.m. We have 2 hours. Get ready for the Moulin Rouge, blah, blah, blah. We're good. Okay, so we decide 2:30. That's when we'll go. Game on. So I'm hanging out at the Airbnb or the hostel, waiting for Fraser, who went to go get a tattoo, and on the way there he got hit by a bus. Not Fraser. He got hit. He was on like a tram, and it got hit by a car.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm sorry, the bus got hit by a car.
Yeah, the bus. Yeah.
So like, what on earth? So his appointment gets pushed back, and then all this stuff. So then he ends up getting to me at like, I don't remember the exact times, but it was like about a half hour before. And so we were like cool on time. We gather our things. We go down to the metro station. We have like 15 minutes until the train leaves, at like the 2:30 train. So we need to just get to Central, but we got plenty of time. We're like 6 minutes away via metro. We'll jump on. At this point, we're very comfortable with the metro system and the trains and stuff, so we're like, cool, easy. We go down. We're standing in the metro station with our our luggage, our backpacks, and we miss the train that goes to Central Station. And so I'm like, oh, okay, there's one in 8 minutes. That still gives us like 9 minutes. We're good. And then this announcement, and it's the worst thing when the announcements come over, because at first it's in Dutch. Ooh. And you just don't know what's going on, and then it gives it a minute, and then it says, blah, 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 sorry for the inconvenience, but the trains will be delayed up to 10 minutes. And at this point, we have like 12 minutes to make the train. So I'm already like stressed, and Fraser can like see it in my eyes. So he's like, we'll be good. So I'm like, let's just get to the train station. Anyways, the signs is like plus 10 minutes, everything, getting anywhere to Central. So that's that. And so we just get on the next metro, and then we got on the wrong one, so it like went one stop further. And I was like trying not to. I am like a really good, I can hold my composure. I'm good at letting things happen however they happen. But I was like, if we don't miss, or if we don't catch this, there's no other way to get to Paris via train. It's not happening.
How do you have to get there if you don't make it by train?
If you don't make it by train, it's either you could do like a bus, which is like anywhere from 9 hours to like, because it's a bus. You could rent a car. You could fly, which is like an hour and a half. But at that point, I had looked at flights like just in case. It was like, no joke, it was like $1,700 to fly to Paris.
From the Netherlands?
From the Netherlands. Like an hour and a half flight, and I think it's because of the strikes and people go there for business.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
They snatched those flights, but even then, those flights weren't direct. They were like 5-hour flights.
Oh, interesting. So like layovers in another country.
And so at this point, we're standing on the metro, and we're like, let's just get to this train station. And then the train stops and is like delayed another 10 minutes, and we have like 2 minutes to make the train. And so at that point, I don't think Fraser's never seen me so angry. Like, I was like, I could have punched something, which unfortunately is like an angry response. I would never punch anyone, but I would have loved to like punch something. You know? Yeah. It's like, I have to like let this out of my body. Yeah. So, tears, strong, welling up, coming down my face, like, so mad. And I was, like, mad at myself, but Fraser is just my love of my life, and was like, we will get there. Because in my mind, I'm going, we just missed the last opportunity to get there. I spent $350 US on these tickets. I bought a hotel for the night. We have our reservations. Like, we have to be in Paris anyways for a 6 a.m. train that next day. That there was a lot of money on the line too that would have been going. So I was like,
for sure.
so frustrated for a lot of reasons, and I had done everything I possibly could to get us there in good time, and everything that could have gone wrong like kept happening. So it was like the delay. So we get to the train station. We're looking at like maybe if we get on a train to Rotterdam, we can catch that other train that we missed and like catch it from there and get to Paris. But it was just not like, nothing was working. The next day, the Netherlands trains were going on strike. So it was like the trains were just a mess. So we sit down and Fraser's like, I'm getting you to Paris. Like, you're going to see the show. I love you. I will spend whatever money we need to.
Yeah.
Like, was just being a good man. And I was like, I'm not trying to be a brat, but like, I'm so frustrated because I did everything right. And nothing's going right. So anyways, at this point, I start looking like, okay, are we renting a car? Because flights are like, that's so unreasonable to spend that much money on flights. So we look at a car, and a car out there to rent is like $54 a day, 50 to 80, depending on whatever. But because we were driving one way to another country, it was 600.
Oh, no.
So at this point, it's like 3:15, and we're trying to figure out what to do. So Fraser's like, let's rent a car. And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, Amber, let's just do it. We need to be there anyways. So I book a car on their website, and then we like walk as fast as we can over to the rental place. And we walk in, and she was like, oh, did you just make a reservation? We're like, yeah. She's like, okay. She's like, we close in just a minute, which is like also wild that we didn't miss that. But there was a guy in there. He's like, not happening, man.
Yeah, you're not getting this car tonight.
I wish I could do a Dutch accent, because he was like totally like, a one way to Paris, last minute. It's not going to happen. And Fraser's like, I don't care if a car's clean. I don't care, like, we will literally take whatever. And so he sat on the phone for like a half hour. And at this point, we're like, okay, it's a 6-hour drive to Paris. If we leave like right now, we'll make it there like right on time. Anyways, so he gets off the phone. He's like, it's your lucky day, man. We got a car for you. He's like, it'll be like $80, 80 euro more. But Fraser's like, take my card, whatever. Oh, I love him so much. And I am like, just whatever. So we also then take all our luggage, lug it over to the car place. At this point, both of the wheels on our suitcase are broken. So we're literally dragging the suitcase on the cobblestone, like trying to get to this car rental place. The guy talks to us for a little bit, sends us on our way, and we're like, okay, it's literally, what would that be? 5 p.m. The Moulin Rouge starts at 11, and then on the tickets it's like, be there at 10:50, like strictly. So we're like, okay, our ETA is like 10:40.
Oh,
and then we get stuck in traffic. There's like, we passed like, no joke, like 4 car accidents, and I'm sitting there just like, this is when I was like, okay, Instagram, this is what's happening, because I have 5 hours of my life ahead of me. But we just watched the ETA like go up, and it like went down to like 10 p.m. So we're like, cool.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll be able to like go check into our hotel, change. We're like in good spirits. And then we get to where we're going, like, I don't know how many kilometers, but very slow, like inching. And we watch the ETA like go back
just
up.
Climb.
And also Fraser was like, the last thing I ever wanted to do was rent a car and drive through Paris, of all places. Because it's like confusing. The freeways, I mean, obviously the same idea, but also pretty different. And the speed limits aren't posted like speed limit, this number. It's just like a sign with a circle. And then there's also 2 signs in it between like 6 to 12 hour, it's this speed limit. And from 17 hour to whatever, it's this speed limit. Yeah. Which is
so they account for like nighttime and stuff like that.
Yes, but then it's in like the 24-hour time. So we were like, are we going to get pulled over? Like, what's this? And then there's tolls. Like, we paid like 50 euros in the toll.
Jeez.
Anyways, so we're going through traffic. We're like, I'm just watching the ETA just go up and down, like barely, and then thinking, okay, we need to still find a place to park and change and like whatever. But Fraser, he's like, just put on some music. So put on some music. We sang a bunch of Disney songs and just like road tripped, which was fun. And then it was like in the movies where we're like, okay, I've had to pee for the last hour and a half. We're going to pit stop. You're going to fill up. I'm going to pee. You're going to get drinks. We're back in the car. Like, we've got 4 minutes to do this. So we don't like lose our time. So drive. We finally get into Paris. Driving in Paris is literally a nightmare. Like, no grid system. Paris is like it's like in a circle. Have you ever seen like a map of, and then it's just out from there. So rather than like, for example, pulling up to a 4-way stop, it's like you pull up and there's like 5 alleys you could go into, but all in like diagonal, like in the lights, and people do whatever they want anyways. So Fraser's like, this is an absolute nightmare. I love you, but I need your eyes on the road. I need you to tell me like my next step, like 2 minutes ahead. We need to just, this is a nightmare. So we get into Paris. It is literally, I think right when we got into Paris, it was like 10:30. So we had 20 minutes, 20-minute window. We drive, we like made a wrong turn because of the GPS was so confusing. We pull up and we're passing the Moulin Rouge at 10:38. So we have 12 minutes. You're like, we see it, we know it's there. Let's find a parking spot. I had called the hotel because I was like, do you guys offer parking? And he's like, yes, it's this address. But also, again, the French, he was like, yes. I can't do a weekend accent, but I was like, can you spell that? Because he told me where the parking was, but I was like, can you spell that? And even him saying the letters was so, I could not understand anything. So we find it and we park, and I had like changed in the car, so I ran out and was like, can we park here? And the guy didn't speak any English, and he was just pointing to things, and I was like,
like, I don't know what that means.
At a loss. At this point, we've got like 10 minutes, and luckily this other guy walked in and was like, what do you need? And he like translated. And I was like, I need to know if we can park here. We're at this hotel. And he's like, yes, you just have to do this and this and this. I'm like, cool, thank you, merci. And run out and tell Fraser. We literally opened the back of the car, ripped open the suitcase, Fraser, because the Moulin Rouge has a dress code, and if you don't have the dress code, they won't let you in. Like,
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So Fraser hurries and changes. We run up, and it's in a parking garage, so we're like running up those like spiral things, and we are like running past the guy that I tried to talk to, and then I was like, oh, does this place like close? So I went back and I was like, when do you close? And he pointed at the thing, and they closed at usually 2:30 a.m.
Okay.
And the Moulin Rouge ends at 2 a.m.
Oh, perfect.
But he's like, tonight, this time, and it was 11:45.
Oh no.
Or no, 12:45. No. Yeah, 11:45. And so I was like, well, when do you open? He's like, 6 a.m. I was like, well, we have to return this car tonight and be at a train station at 6 a.m. And Fraser was like, let's just get there. Like, I don't know. But everything we owned was going to be locked in this parking garage. And so we run to the Moulin Rouge. We literally get there, like, out of breath. We see it, and we're there. But then also we're like, we're still so screwed. Like, everything we own is, like, stuck in this car. So we take a cute little picture, and we're like, cool, we're here. But then also we get inside, and we ask this lady, and we're like, our car, we need to move it. And she's like, no, you can't leave. Like, we got there at 10:50.
Yeah.
But then also you don't know what the real, you know how shows are like, be here by this, blah, blah, blah. So you go in, and they seat you individually when you get to, like, the theater. Because it's, like, old school, like the tables, and they bring you a bottle of champagne and put it in, like, a bucket of
interesting.
ice,
yeah.
and, like, some people have dinner with their show. And anyway, so we're gonna be in, we come to find out that we're gonna be in this line, and the show strictly starts at 11:30. So I'm like, we might have like 20 minutes if they let you back in the door. So we're like sitting there trying to figure out what to do, and Fraser's like, well, we have no choice. And I'm like, well, I'll feel bad if I sit in there by myself without you. Like, you got me here. He's like, well, everything we own is over there. We need to catch a train tomorrow. Let me just run out there and see what I could do. So I was like, okay, goodbye. So he left me, and I just stood in line for like 20 minutes, and I just watched his location. And he just got like further and further away from, and yeah, oh my gosh, my anxiety was like through the roof. I'm like, we're here, like we literally made it. And then the parking garage guy decides to close the parking garage soon. Anyways, so I get to the front of the line, and the lady looks at my ticket. She's like, oh, you have tickets for 2. Where's the other person? Is he in the bathroom? And I was like, yeah. He'll be here soon. I'm like, he's like 6 blocks away. And so she's like, okay, well, we might see you, but we might not until he gets here. And she like hands me over to the person that guides me to my seat. And he takes me, again, we got like the last tickets, but he like kept guiding me through the tables and sat us at the very front table where I was like touching, no joke, I could set my drink on the stage.
That's
like,
crazy.
We were at the stage. And I was like, are you kidding me? If Fraser misses this, I'm going to be pissed. And then the couple next to me was talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are speaking English. Talk to me. And they were like, oh, we're from Florida. We had the craziest time getting here because the trains went on strike, and we had to rent a car. And I was like,
that's our
I
story.
feel validated because that happened to us. I was like, my husband is somewhere trying to park our car. I don't know if he's going to make it. So they were like in it with me at this point where we're like, okay, he's got like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So again, T-Mobile sucked out there. So his service was crappy. So I was like, I should have sent my car, like my phone with him because he's trying to find a parking garage. He has no service. Is he even going to... Anyways, lots going through my mind. Last of the story though. At this point... the show's starting soon, and I'm sitting here with this Florida couple, and we're all just seeing it, and I've seen Fraser's location, and it starts to move back towards the Moulin Rouge, but it was like cruise, and so I was like, he's in the car, and he's like driving back, and
he's just running.
We're screwed. Like, I don't even know. And then it stopped, but it was... where the location showed was like the next building over. So I was like, oh, and I texted him. I was like, I love you. I hope you make it. And then he texted me back. He said, I'm in the lobby, like all caps. And I was like,
no
guys,
way.
He's in the lobby and the show's about to start. And they're strict, like once the show starts, it's not interrupted. No one's going in or out. And then we're sitting at the front of the thing. So I'm like, are they even going to let him in? Then it's literally like 11:29. And I'm like, you guys, he's here, but I don't know if they're going to let him in. And then I look up, and clear across the theater, I see Fraser walk in, and he's like looking for me. And I stand up and wave at him, and he waves at me. And then the lights turn off. And so me and this Florida couple were like, he's what? Literally lights out. And it was no joke. Like this point, it's like, is my life a movie? Like it was like, you know, when a show's about to start and they like flicker the lights and then lights out. That's what it was. We like looked at each other. He waved at me and like pointed at me, and then boom, lights out. So I was like, they're probably gonna sit him in the back of the auditorium or like the venue, and I'm gonna have to sit through this 2-hour show like kind of with him, but not really. And so I just like sat there and I like looked at the stage, and then I see this flashlight light, and his escort like showed him his seat, and Fraser came and sat down, and I was like, are we good? And he's like, we're good. Like,
He's
like,
just shaking,
sweating like he had sprinted.
Yeah,
the way is like cruising. He's like, I full on sprinted back here and freaking made it. Oh my gosh, it was like no joke. You know, did you guys ever read like Looking for Alaska? And they like did that whole. It was a movie of our life. It was honestly like, talking about it, not to be dramatic, but it was like the most chaotic, like stressful, like 20 hours of our life. And then even after, like the show was so cool, and then we were like, hey, did he park in a real parking spot? Is it going to get towed? Did it get broken into? So we like make it back to the car. The car is good. So it's like, okay, check that off the list. Now we need to check into our hotel and return the car. Long story short, we go to bed at like 4:30 a.m. Yeah.
In order to wake up in like an hour to get ready to go.
I'm so stressed. I'm like, if we miss another train, I swear I'm going to explode. And so I didn't sleep. I just kind of like sat there. And then we got up at like 5:30 and went to the train station. The whole next day was also crazy. But at that point, we were like, at least we're headed in the right direction. Cause
you're just desensitized to it.
Again, the trains were on strike. So we didn't get the direct 6-hour from Paris to Spain. We got the 9-hour one. So it was like, okay, whatever, at least we're getting there. And then all of a sudden the train stops, and again we're in like rural France on this like old train, and Fraser tried to talk to a couple people, but they were like, no, I don't speak English. Like, and again, like on this train we knew we were rural because when they made announcements on a train, there was no English translation. It was just French.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the train stopped in this like tiny little town, and then there was something on the intercom, and Fraser and I were just like, I don't know what's going on. But then people started getting off the train, and he like asked someone, and he translated like in Google Translate. He's like, train is delayed. They don't know when it'll go. So we ended up sitting in this town for like another hour and a half, and then it delayed our other one. So then that trip ended up being like another 12 hours. Holy smokes. So anyways, by the time we got to Spain, we were like, hell yeah, we are just doing nothing. Our lives have been the most chaotic they've ever been. Long story short, that was the disaster. That everything that could have gone wrong literally went wrong. And I don't want to scare people away from traveling, because traveling is so fun. And it honestly made like, despite the stress and like money spent, whatever, but it was also very memorable in a way. But holy smokes, the Moulin Rouge was great. It was worth it.
Worth all the headache for the
Fraser was like, hold up, there's topless chicks. I didn't tell him what the Moulin Rouge was, so like the girls came out on stage and he like looked at me. I was like,
that's just how it is. Yeah.
Sorry, dude. Anyways, it was a blast.
Well, interesting. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. Sharing about your Euro trip. That was dope.
It's fun, and there's ways to do it that aren't chaotic. So hit me up if you want a non-chaotic trip. I can help you with that.
Heck yeah. Well, you've done it enough times. You've done it 4 times, right?
I do. Yes.
So you're the expert on it.
I do feel comfortable with a lot of stuff out there, but there are some stuff that you just can't expect, and
yeah, for sure.
It is what it is.
You're not planning for everything, but you got to do as much as you can. I see.
Yeah.
I really do want to go to the Belgian Grand Prix, actually, which
the
is
what?
The Grand Prix, the like racing Formula 1.
Fun.
That'd be dope. Their spa is like one of the coolest places to go.
I've never even heard of that.
It's like their track that's over there. But
cool.
Anyway, dream of mine.
One day
We'll make it. The tickets there are super cheap. But one of the other things I want to touch on, Mayzie Co. You have a sweet business. Where'd you get the name Mayzie Co? Because it's strange to me. I've never heard
random.
it.
Yeah. Mayzie Co. I always say it was an accident, but I think it was just like, it's the way every business starts, is things just kind of happen and you try things and some things work and some things don't.
Totally.
When I first started, which Meg has them in her kitchen, I know, is the little jars.
She loves them, by the way.
Flowers on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my original idea. I was like, oh, these are cute. Like, I want flowers everywhere in our house. Fraser and I had just got married, so you're like, I just want to make this like a home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started putting these little like flowers, real pressed flowers, on the top of all these different jar lids.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know mason jars, the classic.
Mm-hmm.
Every mom has like 40 bottles in her basement. Long story short, I was trying to figure out what to name it, and for the longest time I've nannied for this family, and they have a daughter named Mayzie.
Oh.
And her real name is Mason.
Okay.
And so I thought, like, oh, it's like kind of a play off of mason jars, but it's Mayzie. So like, oh, a Mayzie lid, like a cute flower Mayzie lid for my mason jar.
Oh, that's
that was
cool.
Like the play. So
yeah.
she's not little anymore, but I've nannied for them for so long. But it's spelled like Mayson. So it's like, oh, can I name my company after your daughter? And they were like, oh, yes, of course.
Sure, yeah.
We love you. So the jars kind of, obviously, I don't sell them anymore, but they just never really latched on anything. It just
didn't really take off.
Yeah, like still very cute and still something I love and use, but it just didn't. It wasn't. I don't know. Just never worked.
I'm with
and
that.
then one day I was working on those, and decided like I had leftover resin and flour, so I just like put them on the back of my phone case, and let it harden. And then I posted a picture on Instagram the next day, and people were like, wait, that's sick. Would you make me one? I was like, yeah, sure. So I like found good cases and found more flowers and made a couple people one. And then more people like were asking, and then I'd post about it and be like, I'm making some more if anyone wants some. And people just like kept wanting them. Not to say like, oh, there was 100 ordered, but it's like,
yeah,
I would have like 1 or 2 people every couple weeks that were like, hey, would you make me one of these? And so I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, Fraser, what if I just kind of like did this? And at the time I was working at Good Earth. Like, it wasn't by any means like my main source of income. It was like
for sure
$25 every couple weeks. Like,
yeah, totally.
But it's just kind of kept going. And honestly, like, my sister-in-law Bailey, she's very artsy and very talented, and she's always been really good at pushing me. We're both like very creative minds, and she's always like, Amber, you need to like use your skills. And I would say she is one of the main people that really pushed me to take this thing and like develop it. And she's like, you could sell these, like these are really cool. And anyway, I think she was a huge push in what Mayzie Co. has become now from the very beginning. Like, even with the jars, she's like, she let me put them on her website, and she like supported me like from the very beginning. And anyways, with the phone cases, same thing. She's like, you need to like do something about these. And so I just started like working on them more and more here and there, and like learning things. And then, I don't know, long story short, that was a year and a half ago almost. And it's one of my main sources of income now.
That's so cool.
Which is absolutely wild. Like, I'm a phone case girl. I think that's what I do. That's insane, but like, I love it. And I would have never thought, and I put a lot of freaking like time and tears into it, so yeah. I'm happy, but it's just, I would have never thought that this is what would have happened. So
for sure. So you've moved into other stuff. Meg's has like 50 pairs of your socks.
She loves your stuff from the beginning. She is currently getting.
Yo, I'm a Mayzie girl. I gotta show you something. I just sewed on a patch finally. I bought a patch, like a Mayzie patch. Amber has them on her purse, like her little handbags that she has. They're sling bags, and it says Mayzie Co. It's like a little something different. Yeah, it's super cute.
I think you gave it to her.
I did, because it was your birthday.
Oh yeah,
when you came.
Yep.
Check this out.
Yeah, she's got the socks. She's got the bag. She's got the phone cases. Oh, cute. She put it on her jacket. Oh.
So I was just mending a bunch of clothes the other day, and I had a hole in my jacket that I kept ripping because of work, and I had no idea like what to cover it up with. And then I realized I wanted to cover it up with this little patch that she gave me because it's like the perfect size. So it's just like on my coat.
I have to take a picture of that.
Do it. Yeah, I'll put it on the story or whatever. You guys can see it.
For sure. We'll definitely promote some Mayzie Co. on here.
You guys.
So we can find you one on your regular Instagram.
Yes.
At
Mayzie, it's at MAYZIE.co, Mayzie Co.
Check it out.
And my website is the same, www.mayzieco. Mayzie.co.
Mayzie.co. It's good stuff, honestly. Like our friend Ian Healy, you know him, you grew up next to him. His wife like loves a lot of the stuff too. So
I've never met him. I haven't seen Ian in years.
He's a good dude. We hang out with them quite a bit.
Fun, yeah. Mayzie Co's been fun. It's like, again, it's wild that it's like become what it is, but it's also, I mean, what I've learned with business, if you put time into it, it's bound to grow. Whether it's growing slowly or whether it's growing rapidly, if you're spending time and you're being consistent, it's going to grow.
Totally.
And that's what's been so cool to see is like, I remember making I was like, Fraser, I made $200 this month from Mayzie Co. Like, that was so huge, and it had taken me months to get there. And he reminds me now, and I'm like, oh, I only made this much at a market. I feel so. And he's like, remember when you were so stoked that you made $200? If you could talk to that Amber, what would you say? And so, anyways, business is just, it's cool to see anything that you put time and your artistry into grow, but it still just blows my mind.
Oh, for sure.
So
well, and you do a lot of markets, and you also have your website. Which do you make more from?
Definitely, I'm not. Fraser makes fun of me because my husband Fraser, he literally does marketing. That's his job. He has a degree. He works at this awesome company. He does marketing, and I have not let him touch my website or my Instagram because of fears that I have, and that's my own thing. But so does it have potential? Totally, but I have my own problems there, my own mental blocks. Markets are definitely the most monetary. What am I trying to say?
You're bringing in the most through
bringing in the most buck, bang for my buck. It's definitely markets, and I think a big reason of that is because I thrive at markets. I love talking to people and meeting people. Doing business over Instagram is a lot of fun, but you can only connect with people so much, and to be able to meet someone and be like, hey, how's your day going? That's, I don't know, I just love, you guys know, Carter and Meg have been at several of the markets I've been at, and they're just the best. And it's fun to go up and be like, hey, how, this is so cool to see in real life. I love markets, and I'm not a salesman. When people come into my booth, I go, hey, I know you're here to have fun. If you want something, let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
I will answer questions, but just please enjoy your time. And then and I've made a lot of friends through those connections. And so markets are definitely, I think, for a lot of reasons, but it's just so fun. Real life is just so fun.
It's cool. It's a good vibe. It's always a good place. And I think people are genuinely going to the market to see new stuff. Yeah. So that may be a little bit of why.
You guys are market goers. You like going to markets. Megan's always going to go.
Yeah, I'll take the mic on this one. Markets. The culture behind them is fun. You just talk to people. You get to see what people create. I love that a lot of people at markets are small business people, so they have their own stuff that they're making or creating or selling. And there's just a ton of cool stuff, a ton of cool people. So that's why I go. I love looking at new stuff, and I kind of spent this year figuring out my style a little bit more, so going to markets was fun because I could see what local people are creating and then go from there.
I love that.
Yeah,
they're just so fun. I'm so excited for this summer for that reason.
Yeah.
Just markets.
Do you have any that you're planning to go to that you could disclose?
I definitely this weekend, Highland Gardens.
Oh yeah.
We'll be there.
Hey yo.
We live down the street, may as well go. So
it's 6 minutes from here. Highland Gardens, they're doing a fun Valentine's Day market.
Oh, cool. We'll have to head out there. Oh, we're gonna be in Lava Hot Springs. Never mind.
Lame.
Well, is it Saturday morning or because we leave Saturday afternoon?
I actually have no idea. But Lava Hot Springs is the place. I love lava.
We are stoked. It'll be our first time. So
really?
We've never been.
Are you guys just going you two?
Us and then a couple people from work. Raul, the guy that I talked about with Tell Me This, he's going with us.
If you need suggestions, my dad grew up in that small town, and I go there all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's a town of not a lot of people, but if you drive around, you'll see mailboxes with tulips on them.
Really? Oh.
Or if you go into the Lava Hot Springs Museum, you'll see Tillotson in there.
Well, then we gotta go to the museum. No way.
They didn't find it, but one of the original Pony Express writers was someone Tillotson, and I don't know. There's a lot of Tillotsons there, but lava's so fun.
Interesting. All right, yeah, we'll have to go check out the museum while we're there. And sweet. All right, thanks for giving us some insight into Mayzie Co. The other thing that I really wanted to go for was you used to work at Good Earth. You're big into nutrition. As a person that eats absolute garbage all the time, what should I do to step my game up as far as nutrition goes?
nutrition has a lot of avenues. I've kind of honestly been in this like place lately where it's just the world of like Instagram, for instance, or podcasts even. Here we are on a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Is people like to get so, and I'm just going to speak with like nutrition in general, is there is a caveat to everything. And so people may like to make these like really hard, fast rules and feel like there's no like humanness in something. And I feel like in the nutrition world, that's kind of a toxic trait of it. It's like you can't like drinking. It's like drink so much water, but don't drink tap water. Don't drink bottled water, or don't drink. And it's like, no, just drink water. Like if that's your first step is drinking more water, who cares where it comes from? We'll go from there after. So nutrition to me, like if I were to someone like Carter, where I go, you say, Amber, I eat garbage.
Yeah.
How should I make myself 10% better? I would say probably my first thing is always like 3 things. I would say more water, like you're drinking right now.
Awesome. I'm on that.
Water, just hydration in general, especially just like we love to like drinking liquid, like soda is easy to drink all the time. Our body needs water for so many reasons. I shouldn't have to even explain that. Everyone knows that you need to be hydrated. So just drinking more water. But then I also always suggest like just getting a little bit higher quality of everything you buy.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So, for example, going to, say I wanted to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I could go to Walmart. I'm personally a Smith's kind of gal. Harmon's if I'm feeling crazy.
Tried to convince Megs to go to Smith's yesterday, but she said Walmart was cheaper, so we should go there. I'm totally throwing her under the bus on this one.
Meg, I'll take you to Smith's.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I ask.
Yeah. Carter's mine.
Yeah.
Say we're going to the store for a PB&J. Okay? We could spend like, let's say $10 on the bread, jam, and peanut butter. And it's like pretty synthetic, all of it. Like, let's say like Grandma Sycamores and like some Smuckers and some Jif. Okay? Those are going to be full of like hydrogenated oils. You're getting...
This is...
I know.
No. This is exactly what I bought like
hey,
2 days ago.
Yeah, he was just taking a poop on me, but he literally just bought that stuff like the
Throws
same day.
Under the bus.
Yeah, Smuckers and the, what is it? Is it? It's the white...
Smuckers and Granny's white bread. That was like that was exactly what I bought.
I
Not even a
in
question.
Their pantry before this.
For sure.
So, no offense, but let's just take a look at those ingredients.
They're not great.
So, but we all know that. So...
I did preface this with I eat garbage.
Yes, okay.
So okay.
We all knew it was up.
Yeah.
We're honest with each other. So, you can spend, how much did you spend on all that? Around $10?
Oh, you're probably
okay,
around there.
Let's say $10. Then, let's say we go into the store and we just get like a little bit better. So, I would say bread-wise, you could get, there's at least like, there's some, even nowadays, there's like cheaper organic breads. So you're at least getting like less enriched flours, less, I'm going to say heavy metals, but that makes it sound so intense, but like less additives of like the iron and the nice, like all these things.
Yeah, totally.
You're just getting more of a real bread. So is it like the best homemade bread you can get? No, but it's going to be better quality. So, and say you're spending $1.50 more to $2. Jam, I actually know for a fact that a jam without like high fructose corn syrup in it is only like 60 cents more.
Oh, interesting.
Same with the peanut butter. Getting an all natural peanut butter with no added oils is anywhere from like 50 to 60 cents more, if that. On Just Ingredients, she's on Instagram. That's her thing. I don't know if you follow her.
We have her protein in my pantry.
Bomb. Do you love it?
No, I don't. Megs likes it. It's
good.
I have a hard time with it.
Okay, that's okay. We can work on that.
At least the taste. The rest of it's pretty good.
Yeah, she makes a lot of good comparisons of like, this are things on your shelf that's like it's one thing over and it's a couple cents different per ounce or whatever. So anyways, you took this $10 purchase of these prices and you paid maybe $12. And you're getting a percentage better. This is just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's only, but if you did that with like your whole pantry or your whole fridge, say you spend $20 more a month on food on just a little bit better. That's going to be like, I don't ever want people to feel like, oh, I just have to eat quinoa and kale now because I decided to be healthy. It's like, no, like still like eat what you enjoy, but also maybe try some new things or get something that's a little bit better than what you're used to, and up your protein.
That's a big one. I feel like a lot of people miss out on that. Like they don't realize the importance of having a lot of protein. I still don't, but you know.
It's one of those, I could go on a rabbit hole on this, but I've started just like focusing, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm a bro, I need to hit my protein, gains, whatever. But it helps me feel more fuller. I don't feel so snacky. I feel like I'm able to recover more, like both physically and mentally. It's just your body needs it, and so
totally.
That's another thing. Would that be good advice for you?
I feel like that brings my game up 10 to 20%. That I'll eat a little bit healthier.
It's like when you're going grocery shopping, just looking, okay, this is the cheapest option. Is this, and sometimes the cheapest option is just as good as the all natural organic, but it's looking, okay, what else is on the shelf? And then getting familiar with the ingredients. Like you want to stay away from like canola oil and hydrogenated oils, any hydrogenated oils, and then like high fructose corn syrup. Those are like my things that I just kind of try to avoid at all costs. And if something has less of, like way less of, or just none, then I'm like, okay, this is good enough.
Interesting. That's a good rule of thumb.
I hope that's helpful. There's so many caveats within like nutrition, but I think if you just try to like eat more like, okay, what if someone had been able to eat this 100 years ago? Some like cheese and crackers and
like sticking with whole foods instead of like
great.
Processed. That's interesting. It's a good rule of thumb. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope everybody that's listening can kind of apply that, because I know all of the people that I talk to eat like crap.
And if you buy the same grocery list as Carter, that's okay too.
Yeah, it's maybe you can't swing the extra 15 cents. I don't know, but
it just depends. But also at the same note, like you made the note, I used to work at Good Earth, and I would say one of my biggest red flags I would see, I'm not meaning to call people out. I know I never want to hurt people's feelings, but from an employee perspective and also having an idea of health and nutrition, I would talk to people and they'd come and they'd go, hey, I just started this diet of this and this and this. These are my restrictions. Will you help me find snacks? And I'd say, yeah, snacks are cool, but then they'd go to Good Earth and they'd only buy healthy, in quotations, healthy snacks.
Yeah.
Whereas, and that was always a red flag to me, because one, you only need so many snacks. Your diet or your health is probably in this way because maybe you're living off of snacks. You're not living off of some good, like, nutrient dense meals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So, I don't know. I think in a way, nutrition could be a lot more simple, of like just eating, I don't know. Like, honestly, my go-to snack lately has been like an apple, some type of meat, and cheese. Like a little kid. But that like hits a lot of, like, that hits your macronutrients. I'm done. And that's like filling. That's good to me. So
it's nice and satiating.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Last thing I wanted to ask you, are you a reader?
I can't read.
You can't read?
I am a reader when I get in the mood, but I can't tell you that I've like read anything lately.
I can see that. Do you listen to books more at all, or do you?
Again, it's a mood. Like, I could tell you my favorite book, but I couldn't tell you honestly that I've read a book in the last 6 months.
It's better than I've done, so you're good.
Okay, good.
That's good. You put off the vibe of a reader. That's why I was asking. So
I am a reader then. No, I'm not a reader.
Interesting.
Honestly,
You fooled me.
My little sister Taylor, she's a reader. She reads books.
Really?
And any people that read, I think it's not even my attention span. I honestly fall asleep.
I do the same thing.
Like,
it's so hard to stay.
Puts me to sleep unless I'm like invested. So no, I'm not a reader.
In the few books that you have read, do you feel like you're more of like a practical type of reader, or more of like a fiction, get into something that carries a story that you can get sucked into?
Yeah, I think that the history of the 5 books that I've ever finished, it's all been like good stories.
Good stories.
Yeah, like I'm not a well, no, maybe that's wrong. I'm like I read all like the Hunger Games.
Okay.
I was one of those like 4th grade reading Twilight girls.
Nice.
My favorite book, let's see, my sophomore year, did you guys ever read Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close?
Mm-mm.
I remember hearing about it, but I never read it.
Good. It was like,
I think I've seen the movie. There was a movie, right?
yeah, the movie, I mean, it's always like, the movie wasn't as good, but
yeah,
that book was like, I loved that book. It was very, like, the story was so intriguing, and it was also like, it had these like really poetic moments as well that I really like thrived with. So I loved reading that one. My other book, our boy Nathan Oldroyd.
Love me, Big Nate.
We love Nate. He gave this book to me when I came home from my mission, and it changed my life. It's called this, and if anyone's like, do you have book recommendations? I would tell them this book. It's called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. Ever heard of it?
Never. Surprised Nate hasn't shared this with me.
Rude.
I'm upset.
Calling you out, Nate.
He's probably never going to listen to this either, but, you know, it's cool.
It's yellow. It's a yellow book.
Okay.
And it has a bike wheel on the front. But essentially, and I'm not going to... It's just such a good story. It's a story about a man who is living a mediocre life. Mm-hmm. And these producers... And he had been an author. He had written a book. And these producers come and, like, talk to him. And they're like, hey, man, we want to, like, make a story about your life. And he's like, well, I have the most boring life ever. Why would you want to do that? And they're like, well, let's, let's talk about it. And so they start to create this movie about this guy's life. And throughout this process, they start to study what makes a good movie, and in turn, like, the big picture of what makes a good life. And it was so good, of the little things, like what really makes, like, one of the quotes that stuck with me forever is they go to a conference to learn about, like, what makes a good movie, and the guy says, a good movie is when there's a character who wants something and overcomes conflict to get it. Any movie that's a good movie has that, like, where their life is on the line, someone's life is on the line, money's on the line, like,
totally, something
huge is on the line, and they're willing to do whatever to get it. And whether they achieve it or not, it's that story in between that makes it, like, a good story.
I see what you're saying.
And
like going to Paris and getting stuck between.
Yes, it's like whether we would have made it or not, that was, like, wild.
For sure.
And there's so many quotes like that, like, throughout that book, that it made me want to live a better life. And live a more movie-like life, where at the end of the day, like, if they say, like, what would you do every day if there was a camera crew following you around? How would you live your life differently? And it just gives you that perspective of, like, I do want to live, like, a notable life to myself. How do I do that? And so that book was just very perspective changing and
interesting. We're gonna have to take a look at that book then.
Yeah,
we'll have to buy a copy.
That was one that, like, I stuck with. Like, I read that one. I didn't even listen to it. I read it.
Nice.
The real book.
That's hard to do sometimes. The amount of books that I've listened to that I've been like, maybe I should try and read this, and then just have not been able to make it past the first chapter.
Yeah, or you listen to half of it and you're like, okay, am I listening anymore?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude.
You zone out. There was one book I remember I started that, I don't know if you've heard of the Silmarillion. It's this book by J.R.R. Tolkien, the guy who makes the Lord of the Rings stuff. Anyway, he makes this book that's like, it talks about, like, the creation, essentially. Cool. And I started it, like, 15, 20 different times, getting 10 minutes into it, being like, I don't understand what this is. I can't understand the names or anything that's going on. It was bad. But yeah, don't listen to that one.
I
probably don't. Just avoid the book in general.
I probably would never even pick up the Lord of the Rings, so I'll just call it good on the Gerald Tolkien.
I've heard a lot of good things about that book specifically. That's why I was like, I'll give it a shot. No, not even gonna happen.
Yeah, one day maybe I'll be. It's one of those things. I'm like, I'd love to be one of those girls that like wakes up in the morning and like makes a cup of coffee and reads a book, but I just won't ever be a book reader. Mm-hmm. And not in the morning. I'll fall asleep.
It's hard. It's hard. And you give me vibes because I have ADHD that you may have some ADHD tendencies. So I could see that.
Because I fall asleep. Is that ADHD?
I do it all the time. Trying to read books or like sometimes even just watching like YouTube videos or something, I will fall asleep. It like Dude, if it doesn't catch my attention, I'll fall asleep.
I'm gonna diagnose myself. I have ADHD. No, I fall asleep so easily. Fraser's so like, he's like, how do you? We'll be driving around the point of the mountain, and I'll lean the seat back a little bit, and I'm out, and I'll have dreams. Like I'm not just closing my eyes. Like I will dream in like within 10 minutes.
That's crazy. You can hit REM while driving.
I hit REM quick. I skip all the other steps.
No deep sleep, no light sleep, just straight to REM.
To REMs.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I've always been like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I've exhausted everything I want to talk to you about. Amber, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Where can people find you these days?
People can find me physically or mentally.
Or socially. You can find me on Instagram, amber.se. I provide all sorts of content. Nice. Always good stuff.
I'm no like influencer, but I do like to post stuff that I think is cool, like health stuff and I don't know, just the good stuff, travels, whatnot. Anyways, and then Mayzie Co. You can find me at Mayzie.co.
Cool. Yeah. Well, look it up and find Amber there. Appreciate you coming on.
Carter, always a pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to say something?
I just want to ask if there's anything else that was on your mind, Amber, before we ended this. If you had anything else that you wanted to talk about. I
honestly feel like I've talked way too much.
No, I'm so glad you gave us all the juicy deets.
I'm sorry, but I think that I've said everything I want to say, and I hope people have liked listening to it. I'm just happy to be here. I love Carter and Megan, so it's just a good old time. Look at all of us. Yeah, no, I don't know if I have any more thoughts. I just think life is really cool. It's fun to hear everyone's perspectives, and like just having conversations with people is fun. So I appreciate this, and I'm stoked to listen to this. I don't know if I could listen to myself talk actually, but others. And yeah, peace and blessings.
Thanks for coming on. I just really wanted to double check with you, see if there's anything else. All right.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody.